Hey everybody, my name's Elizabeth and welcome back to my channel. Well, I am here at a place called Carillon Park. And if you saw my Christmas vlogs, you'll know that I came here for their Christmas event, which I determined was wonderful, but not for a single adult. It's more for families. But I said in that vlog that I was very excited to come back here and see Carillon at normal times because it looked like it had such cool stuff to look at and learn about. So I finally made it back. I had plans to come back much earlier, but then you all know I broke my leg and it really threw a wrench in my plans. So I am here now. It is actually the 4th of July, so happy 4th of July. And we're going to go and enjoy the sun and hopefully learn a little bit about the history of Dayton. Oh, and before you all ask, because I know you're probably wondering, my hat says journey before destination. It's going to be backwards every time you see me. So that's what it says. So you can all stop wondering. All right, let's go have some fun. So as I mentioned outside, this is a historical park museum kind of thing, specifically about the history of the Dayton area. I have never been here. I lived in Dayton since college, so a long time. And I've never been here. But I'm excited to see what they have. A lot of it is outside. They have like recreations and of old buildings as well as like actual old buildings that they moved here. They have a train ride and yeah, I don't remember a whole lot from my Christmas trip other than I was excited to come back. So let's go outside.
Historical exhibits today. You'll learn how Dayton, Ohio has helped to shape the world. You'll see the 1905 airplane that my friend Orville Wright considered the most important flying machine that he and his brother Wilbur ever built. You'll walk across a covered bridge, a Conestoga wagon, an early Cadillac motor car, a working grist mill water wheel, and so much more. You know, I've been fortunate to visit literally dozens of cities around the globe, and I can tell you that there's no place like Dayton. Our innovative city boasts over 1,000 factories, both large and small. We've invented the cash register, automobile self-starter, and of course, the airplane. I trust you'll gain an appreciation for this wonderful city during your time here. Enjoy your visit.
Well, she told you a bit more succinctly than I probably could what is going to be here at the park and what Dayton has actually done. Everybody thinks of the Carolinas when they think of flight, but nope. The Wright brothers had their shop and invented and built the airplane in Dayton, not in the Carolinas. So, yeah, remember that. But I'm standing here in a room full of cash registers because that's something I just learned, that the cash register was invented right here. And I never would have thought I would have called the cash register beautiful, but some of these are really beautiful. So, you know, there's some things about the modernization of the world that brings on sadness. Like now, cash registers are ugly, and they used to look like this. Okay, so I'm reading about this man, J.L. Baker, that had a carriage company. Here's one of his carriages. But he, in 1910, he introduced the first electric carriage, which, yes, was an electric car. And unfortunately, because of the popularity of the gasoline ones that were coming out, his company went bankrupt. But if he would have succeeded, we would have had electric cars instead of gasoline powered ones much, much earlier. Something else that was invented here in Dayton was the electric ignition, which meant we no longer had to crank start our cars. And according to this plaque, this is an original 1912 Cadillac touring car. It is an example of the first production vehicle built featuring Delco's electric ignition. I'm not a car person, but I do enjoy looking at old cars. Okay, so this we are in, it's where that car was. It is a barn. It's called the Deeds Barn. It is an actual building. I saw the facade of it outside and I thought, oh, they built a building in here because I'm still inside the indoor part of the museum. You can see I am still inside. But they moved it here and it is inside the building. I'm guessing to protect it, and keep it in one piece and out of the weather. So, um, yeah, that's pretty cool. Let me go ahead and get a shot of it outside because I didn't realize it was authentic when I saw it from the outside. So, yeah, here it is. And it is an entire building inside the museum that is authentic and originally from the area. Pretty cool. All right, so I just stepped outside and here's the view from the main building. There is a train. I will be riding the train because that's one thing I did not do at Christmas. So I, I think that she said it leaves every hour on the hour. So I just got out here too late as I missed this one, but in an hour I will be on the train. But you can see, maybe you can see on the other side of the train, there are a lot of buildings, and each one has different um, displays and different talks about different things. I know there's one that talks about printing, newspapers and things like that. There's like a very old-fashioned house over there that I think talks about like what the life was like, daily life um, a long time ago in Dayton. And that's about all. I know there's a train section like that actually has like different kinds of trains. But yeah, let's go explore and start going into some of these buildings. All right, let's go into our first building. This one says it's a tavern. Let's see if it's authentic. Oh, George Newcomb and his family were among the first settlers to arrive in Dayton in April 1796, and he paid millwright Robert Edgar 75 cents per day to build the best house in Dayton. This is the oldest building, the oldest standing building in Dayton. The right side of the building was the family's home, the left side was a tavern. For 65 cents a night, a traveler could have a meal and lodging for himself and his horse. It was central to community life, and it was Montgomery County's first courthouse. It was originally in downtown Dayton, but of course was moved here to the Historical Society. That's awesome. Let's see if we can go in. I'm hoping yes. All right, so here's the tavern. And over here, home. It looks like all this stuff is authentic. Also, this chair is from the 19th century. The cupboard is from 1810. The cradle is from 1804. That desk is somewhere between 1810 and 1815. The rocking chair is from the 19th century. And the table is from the 19th century. It does feel wonderful in here because they have it air conditioned. She said that it was important for the artifacts that it not be real hot. Ooh. Must have been the house at the original location. Well, that tavern was really cool. So the downstairs was just kind of a recreation of the tavern and the home side, kind of. And then upstairs was more history of kind of Dayton, but a lot of Ohio in general, like talked about the Indian Wars, which there were a lot of them here in Ohio. And then it talked about like how Ohio country, as it used to be called, it did not become part of the United States until after the Revolutionary War. It was still part of Britain, and then after the treaty was signed, America got that land. So that was pretty cool, pretty interesting to learn. Okay, so here we have another authentic building. This is a school. This was built in 1896 near Springfield, Ohio, and then was moved here. This says in the early 1900s, the only requirements to be a teacher in Ohio were that you graduate 8th grade and pass a written test. So not too strict back then. Um, it also says that female teachers were required to be unmarried. So as soon as you got married, you could not teach anymore. Okay, let's go inside. I remember at Christmas there was like a puppet show in here. Hi. Okay, well, I learned some other cool things about this school in particular from the volunteer in there. She told me that this is actually much bigger than normal schoolhouses of the time, and that was because the community built it as kind of a multi-purpose building. So it actually doubled as a church, and it doubled as sort of like a community meeting hall if they needed to, address some kind of issue with the community or have some kind of meeting. So um, in there is pretty roomy in there, and that's why. She also told me that the desks would be bolted down, kind of like to two like 2x4s, so that they could just unscrew the 2x4s from the floor and carry them out, and then carry the pews in because those heavy desks would be bolted down, so the kids couldn't mess with them or fidget or something like that. So I found that pretty interesting. So every week, some men, I'm assuming, had to come in and move out those heavy desks, lines of them, like rows of them at a time. They had to pick up, and then bring in the pews for church. So, yeah, pretty interesting. Okay, so this is the William Morris House. This was built in 1815 in Centerville, Ohio. So let's go in and see what it's like. Hi. A family of five. Wow. Did they use the upstairs, or was it storage? Okay, got it. Wow. Okay, this tiny house, it was built in 1817 in Kettering, and I call it a house. Um, it says that Peter Hetzel and his wife and their five children lived here for a year while their farmhouse was being built. Um, so I thought that little house that I was just in, that one had five people living in it total, and that was at least twice the size. And that one had two parents, two kids, and a servant that lived there. This one, for a year, had seven people. Seven people. I can't, my modern mind can't even fathom that. But it looks like they had plenty of oven space to cook for everybody. And yeah, and one thing, those first couple buildings were air conditioned, but these two little houses aren't. But it's not as hot in them as I would expect. And one of the volunteers told me that, of course, back then they had a much different way of building, and they were more conscious of like how to build their houses so that like heat and staying hot and staying cool were more were managed much better. So I imagine it's a little stuffy in here, but once you open those windows and that door, you could probably get a pretty good breeze in here. Interesting. So this is, of course, a Greek Revival style house, and this says that Greek Revival architecture was popular in America from about 1825 to 1816. 1860, Americans identified with Greece as the birthplace of democracy and with Greece's own struggle for independence in the 1820s. The style can also be seen in Dayton's old courthouse. Now, this specific building was built in Dayton, East Dayton, in 1814. Excuse me, 1841. So far, every one of these buildings is authentic and that has been just moved here. So let's go inside. This looks like a cool building. I love grandfather clocks. I don't see any signs to tell me about this furniture and if it's authentic, but if it's not, I feel like they did a good job at like making it look aged and things like that. All right, this is as far as I can go. Another house, there's no air conditioning in here, but it feels remarkably cool considering how hot it is today. I wish this rope wasn't here because I want to go. I want to go see what's back there, and I kind of want to open that door. But that's probably why they put the rope up so people like me don't go snooping. All right, let's go to the next building. Okay, so now I'm confused because this, I thought this was what we saw inside, and it looks like what we saw inside. Now it specifies this one is a replica that was built in 1914 right here in Carillon Historical Park. It does not say, I would think that it would say the original is inside our museum, but it doesn't say that. And so now I feel like I need to go find someone and ask if that building inside was indeed the original or if I just made that up and if that was another replica and I am just assumed. So maybe there's somebody inside this one that can tell me. Let's go find out. Okay, so I am taking a little rest here. I am still in the replica of the Deeds barn, and I did find out the answer to my question. This is the replica, the one outside. It's sort of like a little museum for the engine and the starter and things like that that they invented. And then there's also this video playing on a loop that talks about the invention of those things. But the one inside, I was right. That is the original, and they put it inside to protect it from the weather and stuff like that. So I'm glad I didn't make that up. But it's pretty cool because that barn, they're preserving it because it is where the electric ignition and the electric self starter were invented. So yeah, that's why that was the original barn, and that's why that one's inside, and there's a replica outside. Okay, I'm pretty sure these buildings are fake here, but let's go into the letterpress because it said that there might be some demonstrations.
Make sure it's been on long enough. So this machine is known as a linotype machine. A linotype machine is the second evolution of printing. First being Gutenberg press with movable type.
Okay.
There was printing long before the Gutenberg press was invented, but it was the movable type and that press that made it something that people could now used to create books because they could rearrange letters. They didn't have to hand card every page.
I see.
So that was okay, but it was still very time consuming setting one letter at a time. With this machine, I can set one entire line at a time.
Wow.
The way it works is I just type your name in here. So when I did that, these little pieces of brass fell out of that magazine right there, and you can see it says Elizabeth.
Wow.
Okay? That's what I can see. That's not the important part.
Uh-huh.
The important part's what's on the back. There you can see that there are molds there. And what we're going to do is we're going to put those molds in front of a die, just another big mold, and we're going to pour hot metal into that die, and we're going to make one of these bars with your name on it, and then I'll take it over to the printing press, and we'll use it to print the souvenir card.
Awesome.
Okay, so this goes back in here. What we need to do is we need to move it from the cold side or the assembler over to the hot side of the machine. The way I do that is I press down on this elevator and it raises the letters up. Now, when I get to here, it gets a little restricted. And right there, it means it's at eye level so I can check it. Somebody has it set to like Alex. Oh well, that's okay. So now it's on this side of the machine. Behind this wheel, there is a furnace, and that furnace has got a crucible attached to it that's heated to 550 degrees.
Wow.
Metal bars you see hanging there are being fed into that. The float in there, as the float drops down, it ratchets those metal bars in there and it melts them.
Okay.
And that's the metal that we're going to use to pour into here. So in order to do that, I'm going to pull this handle. When I do that, this arm will go down and that wheel will rotate to put the correct die in place.
Got it.
Once that's in place, it's going to clamp the letters together, then it's going to inject the hot metal. Once it's done injecting, this wheel is going to spin again. It's going to rotate the newly created bar past the knife, and it's going to run it, keep this edge trimmed, makes every one of these the exact same height, known as type height.
Got it.
As it goes and it gets to the spot where the missing ridges matches those pins, that falls off, sorting it back into the magazine in the correct spot ready for reuse. And what that allows us to do is just keep typing.
Okay.
And as long as we have metal, we can create type.
Got it.
Now all that's going to happen pretty quick, so here it goes. Okay, it's rotating everything into place, it's clamping it, it's injecting the hot metal now. It's spinning the trim arms coming down, it's picking up the letters, taking them back, pushing them onto the bar, and listening, you'll hear them fall.
Wow.
And with that done, there's your name in hot metal.
Wow. Very cool.
Yep. And you can feel it's still very warm if you want to try and just touch it.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what this machine did. So what this machine did is it allowed things like daily newspapers
Uh-huh.
and made books affordable. Now, would you like to have your name underneath a train or underneath the right flyer?
Let's do the flyer.
Okay, I can do that. We'll just swap this out. Put this one in, make sure that I have it the right way. Yep. Then all I do is I take this and I put these ridges forward. Okay, that tells me what the front of it is. That way I don't have to worry that it's upside down and backwards. Then I grab some ink. The ink that they're using today, or that we're using today, is a rubber-based ink. And I really like the rubber-based inks, because rubber-based inks last a long time.
Mm.
And I just put a little bit on there. And the souvenir cards are pre-printed on one side, and they were printed on that printing press right there. We call that our Orville press.
Okay.
Because Orville Wright purchased that printing press in 1933.
That exact one. Wow.
That press, that belonged to Orville Wright.
Awesome.
He gave it to his great nephew as a gift when he went to college.
Mm-hmm.
His great nephew's name was Wilbur, and Wilbur took it to college. And when he was in college, he used it to earn money by printing for his friends.
Mm.
And the story about that press and this proof press are what's on the front of this card. So with that said, there's your name.
Awesome.
Underneath the right flyer.
Very cool. Wow. Now, were any of these machines invented in Dayton?
There's no machine in here that was invented in Dayton.
Okay.
The only machine that we even have that was actually manufactured in Dayton is our paper cutter back in the corner, that big green machine.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's a Harris Potter Seabolt
Okay.
paper cutter. There's your souvenir.
Thank you.
Now, the machines did come out of print shops in Dayton. For example, that machine I just used
Got
came
it.
out of Standard Register.
Got it. Okay.
That's who we also got the metal from. Standard Register donated that metal to us, and they actually purchased that metal in the 1920s.
Wow.
And we just keep recycling it over and over and over again.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I learned a ton.
Yeah.
That was way too cool. So, none of the machines were invented in Dayton, which is fine, but they're all authentic. And the one, he said, was owned by one of the Wright brothers, which also is very cool. And I have a card with my name on it that was free and was printed on an authentic printing press. Okay, I'm here in an exhibit that talks about the Great Flood of 1913, which I've heard of, but I didn't know a lot of details about. Now, according to the information that I'm sitting across from, more than 4 trillion gallons of water overwhelmed the region. It resulted in 350 lives, 14,000 homes being destroyed, and caused $100 million in damage. And that was again in 1913. It did cause the area to build up and complete a regional flood control system within 10 years from that event that protects the city now. So, and those of you who didn't know, Dayton is actually built at the intersection of 4 different rivers. It was for economic reasons, but obviously when there's a heavy rainfall, it means there's a lot of flooding. So, yeah, they unfortunately had that tragedy and then built some flood control. So hopefully that kind of thing never happens again here. But I'm just here at the start of the exhibit, so I'm going to walk through and see what it's like. This was made in 1913, just a few days after the event, to show the extent of the flooding. So all of the actual grooves are the actual rivers, and the blue is the extent of the floodwaters. Oh, poor little animatronic puppy. It says horses and other animals struggled to escape the rising waters. Survival was often a matter of making it to dry ground or onto a roof to wait out the flood. After the waters receded, residents were left to grapple with how to rescue horses and dogs from their rooftops. Oh my goodness. How do you get a horse off your roof? Okay, I thought this was going to be a sad story, but it turns out to be an amazing story. So this is an actual little outfit of Charles Adams. And Charles and his twin Viola were just shy of their first birthday when the flood hit. And their parents and their grandfather managed to signal like a rescue boat. And almost as soon as they got into the rescue boat, the current proved too strong. It forced it up against a tree and flipped it, and everybody was flipped into the floodwaters. But and I was, I thought it was gonna be a sad story because it says, and the family was lost in the raging waters. And I thought, oh no, they all died. But then it goes on, and it says that Charles, the little baby's mother and grandfather, who was holding on to Charles, were able to grab hold of a tree. After some time, another boat arrived. But shortly after Viola and the baby Charles were on board, the boat was again overcome by water, submerging the family. But amazingly, they were all eventually saved by several brave rescuers further downstream. That's amazing. They got into 2 different boats, which were swamped, and still were rescued and survived. That is wonderful, and that was a very... I thought I was going to start crying, but yeah, they lived. They lived. Okay, so we're coming here to the end. I only did one half of it. There's some buildings on the other side, so we'll hit those in a minute. But if you see past that tree, not that building there, but like way up there, there's that tower. Um, I climbed to the top of that when I was here for Christmas. And it was a beautiful view. It was night and you could see all the lights. It was really cool. I will not be doing that today because, my leg is still healing. And while I can do stairs sometimes, going up, what is that, 5, 6 flights of stairs seems like the wrong decision. Um, I also have took some pictures on that bridge when it was all lit for Christmas, and it was really, really beautiful. But I'm not going to do either of those things today. I'm going to go in here because this is where they have the trains. There we go. It says the John Quincy Adams, Baltimore and Ohio #1. I don't know what that means, but I assume that's what I'm looking at. What I don't know is if it's authentic or a recreation. I think it's authentic. Okay, that volunteer did say that it was the oldest in the country, so that's cool. It wouldn't surprise me if this stuff is all authentic. The wood doesn't look super old, but it's all roped off, so it makes me think maybe. But this, for sure, look at how old that looks. That is awesome. It says this coach is number 341, built in 1870. This 9-passenger model was designed to be drawn by 3 horses. One is a lead horse and the other 2 abreast. It has never been restored. The original paint can still be seen. This might be the coolest thing I've seen in quite a while. Look at that. That is awesome. Even if everything else in here is authentic, I can't imagine that any of it is cooler than that. Okay, so here's a trolley. It does say it's historic. I'm looking to see where it's from. Oh, I think it's from Dayton. That's cool. Yes. Oh, wait. Okay, I was wrong. It is like the ones that were used in Dayton in 1888, or began using in 1888. But this one was built in 1903 and used in Brazil. It is built in Philadelphia. This is a pretty impressive building. So again, this is not one that was used in Dayton, but Dayton used ones that were similar. This one was used in Cleveland. Sorry, I lied. This ran between Toledo and Lakeside, Ohio. It was built in Cleveland. Look how beautiful they made it look. All right, let's go inside. So we can walk through this, but we're not allowed to sit or touch anything. Not. Why don't they make trains or buses this beautiful today? Let's go in this one first, because there are people in the other one. Oh, wow. This is pretty cool. Ooh. Oh, I see. They even had a little bathroom. I thought it was going to be a sleeper car thing. Okay, the next train, actual train that I want to ride, leaves in like 9 minutes, and if I don't make it, I have to wait another hour. So I'm gonna book it as fast as my leg will allow back to the front and try to catch the train. I made it, but just barely. I was kind of behind this family that was also rushing somewhere, and I kind of asked them, I was like, "Are you guys trying to make the train too?" And they said, "Yep." And they, of course, got here first because I'm crippled, and they told them like, "Wait, there's one other person coming." So they held it for us. So all right, you get to sit and enjoy the ride. Well, that was a really cute train ride. It just kind of went around the park, and every once in a while it would chime in and tell you about whatever building you were passing. But I liked it. It was a nice little break and a good way to see the parts of the park that I wasn't able to get to today. I am outside now, outside of the park. There's a lot that I didn't do, including a whole museum dedicated to the Wright brothers. I had intended to do that today, but my leg is just, it's ready to be done. So I'll have to come back another time and see the rest of it, especially that Wright Brother Museum was really the thing that I wanted to, I was thinking about going back and doing, and then after the train ride, I'm like, it's a whole walk back. And I thought, I'll come back another time. But it was a really good visit. Now, I did mention that today is the 4th of July. Actually, the crowds were not bad today. I thought it was going to be really busy, and it really wasn't at all. But one thing I will say is that, like, sometimes as a single person, I know that, like, on these holidays, I have the days off work, but it's not a day that I'm going to, like, travel to visit family or anything, because it's just, I don't get that much time off, and it's not an important holiday to me, like, Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever. So I don't travel to visit family, but I still like to get out and do something. And so that's what I kind of want to encourage you to do. If you have holidays or days off like this where you are not able to travel to be with family, or maybe your family has to work or whatever, still find a way to get out and make the day special and memorable. So, it doesn't have to be a museum or a park. It could be, whatever you want, but just make the day special, even if you're spending it alone. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like and a subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at LeadTheLifeVlog, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!